Hey everybody, welcome to Steelers Show. I'm Chris, got the full gang here, Joe and Paul, and hey,
Woohoo.
we just get depressed when we talk about the Steelers. I'm feeling a little better this week, so hopefully I don't start crying at the end of this show like I've had for the past like 3 years with
I'm
this.
worried that somehow, even at 3-0, when offensive things look more positive, y'all are still going to find a way to make this seem depressing. Like, oh man, we're one of 4 3-0 teams in the league, but oh man, what are you gonna do? I really wish we were the Cincinnati Bengals fans because 0-3 looks great right now. We're in such a great position.
I'm concerned not the teams play, but the owies that seem to be happening with the Steelers and everybody else, not just the Steelers. It seems like everybody's going to hurt, which is a concern.
Well, it's not great. It's not something you hope for.
Yeah, I guess that's my concern. But, man, you look around the NFL and, there are teams in trouble. There are teams that, good. Again, the Steelers are 3-0. You can't criticize the Steelers right now for what's going on. But, man, there are some teams that are in deep trouble. If we were doing podcasts on some of these other teams, it'd be really depressing. But let's talk about the team we're into. Steelers 20-10 win over the LA Chargers. Really good team performance. Justin Herbig came in kind of banged up for the Chargers. He had to leave the game. Taylor Heineke, which isn't the worst quarterback in the world, but he's definitely a step below. But the Steelers, hey, they played some backup quarterbacks and they made them look really good. So, but the defense, my goodness, -5 yards in the second half. Just a really compelling performance. I liked Smash Mouth. It was Smash Mouth defensively, Smash Mouth offensively. Really good performance. I really pleased by what I saw on Sunday. What do you guys think?
Joe?
Did y'all freeze for a second there? I wonder where. Okay. Suddenly, everybody was just a deer in the headlights.
Yeah.
Which is not what the Steelers were doing on the field. So I was happy with that. Yes, the defense, lights out. Just unbelievable. That was bonkers. -5 yards in the second half. That's one of those things where everybody, so much has been said about, well, you can't just rely on this defense to do its thing and think you're going to stay in games and we're just not going to be able to win if we can only get 10 points, whatever. Well, you can if you hold a team to -5 yards in the second half. You honestly can. And you could win this game with 13 points every single week if you hold the other team to -5 yards in the second half. Yes, that was in large part due to Justin Herbig going down, and that was always the concern going into the game. He had this high ankle sprain. That's a real thing. He's facing the Pittsburgh Steelers. They are going to get sacks. That's going to happen. Somebody is going to get sacks. Several people are going to get sacks. Someone's going to get multiple. And surviving that was always going to be a question. So, yes, he got injured. It wasn't anything dirty. It just was a bad idea to play on a high ankle sprain. And so that resulted in an amazing defensive display. I was really thrilled with the way that the offense started moving the ball a little bit more efficiently. First downs were coming easier. Fields is seeing the field a little bit better. Arthur Smith's doing a better job at calling plays. There's so many more things were happening. It wasn't an overwhelming offensive display, but it was the kind of offensive display that we need to stay ahead, to be able to stay ahead of teams. If that happens every single week, we're sitting pretty, I got to say, especially with the series of games that are coming up. And we had been looking at the end of the season as this gauntlet through hell. By the time we get there, it will not look like that anymore. If we continue to play this way.
Yeah, no, definitely. Again, I'm feeling pretty positive about the way things happen. I'm a little negative about a couple things, but again, it's not really the Steelers play.
You're just mad that people get hurt in professional football?
Well, we'll talk about that in a second. But first of all, we got to go to Paul.
Oh,
Paul's
yeah, I got to hear this. Come on, Paul.
Paul's favorite player of all time, Justin Fields, from birth. Paul's like, this guy's going to be amazing. I tell you,
from Paul's birth, and that's even wilder because Paul is so much more older than Justin Fields. He's like teething and like, there's going to be this guy. His name is Justin Fields.
Here's what I liked about Justin Fields on Sunday. He's a system quarterback. Yeah, I think he could be the quarterback, but he's still progressing. He's still growing. The concern I've always had about Justin Fields is he's been a turnover machine at times. The good thing he did in week 1 and 2 is he didn't turn the ball over great. When he turned the ball over earlier in the game, it really wasn't his fault. It was a bad.
Not at all. Not in any way his fault. The thing popped up into the sky and it was all wonky. That is not. There should be another name for it. That was not an interception.
And believe me,
that was a freak accident.
Right. I'm not faulting Fields for it. Okay, it wasn't his fault. But I guess what I'm saying is when the thing over your head is you turn the ball over, and you're like, okay, I'm doing good because I didn't turn the ball over. What happens when there's a turnover, if it's his fault or not? The thing I liked about Fields is they actually played okay after that. We talked about negative 5 yards. They had 250 yards. So, and like I was telling you guys on our Facebook chat, I'm not saying, man, Fields is the next Mahomes right now, but I like the fact that he got them to 20 points. And technically, they got 27 points there at the other team's 1 yard line. They could have bounced it in if they wanted to. So, Paul, again, I'm not completely sold on Justin Fields, but I'm a lot more sold on him than I was after weeks 1 and 2. What do you think?
Okay, let me start with I'll go ahead and get the negative out of the way. The negative I have is of the 3 games so far, this I feel like was the most solid team performance. Fields wasn't running around all the time, was much more limited on his running, which I think that's got to be the way forward. My only lingering concern, I know we've talked about it before, and Joe, you say they play the team in front of them, and I agree with that. Pretty soon, the team in front of them is going to be at a higher level than what we've seen so far. And if we can keep playing the same way against A-level teams, fantastic. So I'm liking what I'm seeing. This was probably the best overall performance we've seen in quite some time. Can we replicate this against one of the top tier teams, which are coming down the pike? Hopefully we can. That's the only kind of asterisk that's kind of in the back of my mind right now. Like, okay, we had some kinks first 2 weeks. This week looked great. Can we keep doing this against better opposition? And Indianapolis should not be that test. I think if we can beat the Chargers this way, I think the Colts should be just as easily winnable. So as we progress, we just got to keep playing at this level and this type of ball, and I'll be a happy little fella.
Well, and I gotta give credit to Arthur Smith because, a little critical about some of the play calling in week 1 or 2. But again, if you look back, what do they have? They have a young offensive line. I've seen some of the film. It looked like the offensive line played really well at times, really bad at others. I saw some film on Mason McCormick. They brought him in to replace Spencer Anderson. I heard he had some really, really good plays. He had some really, really bad plays. So you've got an inconsistent offensive line. Frazier's been playing great at center. But, we don't have a ton at receiver, and we know that. Harris and Warren are both banged up. I'm hearing both of them should play against the Colts, but they're not doing too well. So I guess all of the above, the Steelers don't have a tip-top offensive unit at all. And the fact that they're doing what they're doing, hey, bravo, Arthur Smith. Yeah, the numbers aren't stupendous, but man, I don't think Smith has as much to work with as the team did last year. So good for him. You know what I mean?
We could always be dealing with what Cleveland's dealing with at the quarterback level. So Fields has been surprising me so far. I'm pleasantly surprised.
Well, and I will say too, the fact that he's being surprised, like Paul mentioned, he had some really bad habits for the Bears. No one can sit there and say, "Man, he was great." Well, do you think maybe it's Arthur Smith, Tom Orth? He's an Ohio guy. He's really helped Justin. I think he worked for Justin Herbert in previous years. He really helped Herbert out. I'm wondering, do you think the fact that Fields is looking better isn't just because of his Bears background? Maybe it's the Steelers are helping him out. Maybe he's a better quarterback now because he's under the Steelers tutelage. I don't know.
And there's also just the chemistry of offensive coordinator, play caller, and the way that they coach. If he's a fit, he's a guy who comes in and just gets what they're trying to do. It doesn't even have to resonate on a individual skill level. It really can just be these guys click. They make sense together. The way Arthur Smith wants to play ball, Justin Fields understands what he has to do in that system. And the Bears at the time were not trying to do the same thing that Arthur Smith's trying to do now.
Well, and
there is something to that culture, that system we built, because you look at, Joe, you've mentioned before, all these divas who get full of themselves, they want to go elsewhere, and then they can't quite duplicate what they did in Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm. And then the reverse of that kind of situation where Sam Darnold was just absolute hot, stinking garbage for two different teams. He lands in a system where things make sense to him. I'm not even saying that it's necessarily better coaching, period. It's a coaching system that makes sense with him. And the other team's trying to get him to do something that isn't necessarily doesn't come automatic to him. The way that the system is set up in Minnesota just works for Sam Darnold right now, showing stuff that everybody hoped he would be able to do years ago, but here he is doing it. And he could have just easily been flushed out of the league.
Oh yeah.
And he'd be playing in Canada or Europe somewhere, or own a insurance salesman business or sell used cars or something by now. He could have easily been there. But now
could Carolina be that setting for Andy Dalton?
Yeah. Really good way.
Not impossible, because they are still, as bad as they have been, it's still a group of professional football coaches and professional football players.
And they look like it Sunday.
Well,
totally inexplicably, but all of a sudden things make sense and it all goes together and you're like, oh, that's what you've been trying to do this whole time? Oh my gosh, it's crazy.
Yeah, but I think part of that, to be honest with you, is there's a bunch of mediocre teams in the NFL. And if you really, really want to get pessimistic, hey, you might make the argument if the Steelers don't play well, they could be in that kind of middle ground, not a top level team. But I think especially when we look at the Raiders, Raiders had a good win the week before over the Ravens on the road. I know the Ravens aren't what they used to be, but man, then the Ravens go home and they lose. The Raiders go home and lose to the crappy Carolina team. Tampa Bay, I thought Tampa Bay looked for real, and Tampa Bay got blown out by the Broncos. That looked horrible against the Steelers. So there's a bunch of mediocre in the NFL this year. Yeah. That Tampa Bay game, I don't know about you guys, that Tampa Bay game really surprised me. Yeah, it was rough.
Is is it necessarily an issue of mediocrity, or is it just the playing field's a little more level than it's been in a long time? Because I think there's also, what Andy Dalton did Sunday. I mean, that's like no quarterback's really doing that, because I feel like we're seeing what I was wondering about. When's it going to kind of shift back to looking more old school, where it was all fast and throwing, and now it looks like it's everybody's adjusted to that. So now teams are having to be like, okay, we've got to run the ball, we've got to play good defense. Like, oh man, everyone kind of forgot about that.
Well,
And they stopped just running up the score, you mean?
Well,
I mean, on both sides, it's like games that were like 70 to 84, and you're like, what? That's not a football score. What are you talking about?
Slinging the ball and not playing defense.
Basketball. And now why is that a basketball score?
I will say
everybody's running and playing defense, which is the
watch,
football that I grew up loving. Run the ball, play defense.
I like watching Red Zone on Sundays. I saw, and again, they don't show you the full games. They kind of bring you in different games. There were some of the games they had in Red Zone, like the Bears-Colts game. Neither team looked like they wanted to win the game. I mean, they weren't playing that well. I think there's a lot of blah right now in the NFL. It's just food. It's kind of rough.
I saw the comment. I don't remember who it was. Somebody on ESPN. They're like, if you like Steelers football, you can't really watch Red Zone.
Yeah,
because the other team doesn't get to the red zone, so they'll never be on it. So you need to watch some other way if you're waiting for them to show up on red zone.
I was trying to follow a bunch of games at one time, so watch red zone. Steelers were probably on 3 or 4 times all afternoon, and usually it's when, like I say, you don't get that much scoring, or one team's up by 50. Yeah,
they cut to it real quick to show the replay of the 55-yard pass.
Yeah, it really wasn't on red zone that much at all. And I should watch the Steelers game. I was trying to follow a bunch of stuff at once. Let me throw this out there. I didn't put this out as a question, but we probably should address this real quick. Steelers are 3-0. Some of these teams aren't doing too well. Saw a report on, I believe it was ESPN. They're saying, and again, Omar Khan's a guy who's going to look at trade market no matter what. But he's starting to get a little bit more pickier. Tennessee has started out really bad. They're 0-3. So some people think, does that mean DeAndre Hopkins? He's getting a little older. Could he be available? Jacksonville 0-3. My goodness. If you want to get depressed about a team, Jacksonville got beat up by Buffalo the other day. Christian Kirk, could he be available? The Broncos are 1-2. They had a good win over Tampa Bay. But I don't think the Broncos are going to be a playoff team this year. Cortland Sutton, he might be a guy that could be available. Do any of these guys interest you? Or I've also heard the possibility of maybe a Devontae Adams from the Raiders. Any of these guys, could they help?
Any of them could help.
Yeah.
Do any of them excite me? I don't know. Probably Devontae Adams is the one that's the most intriguing to me. But any of them could help. Good grief.
Well, and again, it's still relatively early in the year. I mean,
I don't think anybody pulls a trigger on something like that for at least a couple more weeks.
Yeah, but I think what's it like week
4 more weeks maybe.
Yeah,
I think we'll definitely be looking,
right?
But I don't know. As it stands, if you continue to have somebody step up, does it have to be Calvin Austin every single week? No. Because it's possible for Scotty Miller to come up and have a big game. It's possible for Roman Wilson when he gets back to have a good game. It's also the way they have things set up. Our tight ends can fill in that receiver position, and somebody can have a big game there. There's just a lot of ways that we can go. It's not that we only throw to our wide receivers and it's all deep balls, but it's not. We only need that. It's yeah.
Here's the other thing that was interesting. Roman Wilson was healthy enough to play. They wanted to give another defensive guy a helmet because of just some concerns they had about the Chargers going in, them being a running team and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
So, And they're telling Rome Wilson, it's not like, hey, this guy is lazy or whatever. He's practicing hard to look forward to getting him in the game. I think it may tell you something about the depth. I mean, sometimes in recent years, the Steelers haven't had a ton of depth. When you have guys that you think could really help, that they're not even getting helmets, maybe that's saying, wow, we have a lot deeper team than we've had in the past, too. I don't know.
I do feel like there's just a lot of bodies.
Yeah, which is good. I would like to see. I love seeing Calvin Austin do well. I'm not sure if you expect him to do that every game. I think if you get another vet, you could still use Roman Wilson and Calvin Austin, but you don't have to. You're almost like right now hoping Calvin Austin gets a 90-yard game. And he's definitely capable of that. I don't think you can expect that every game. So the thing I like about Hopkins or somebody like that is, okay, yeah, they're not the same guy they used to be. They're not going to catch 15 balls a game, but if they can catch like 5 or 6 each game, man, that kind of just gives another veteran target that could really help Fields out. So,
But if we're getting to the mid-season mark and we're like, hey, we're going to trade Russell Wilson in a package to get Hopkins, great. But now we're in a spot we're starting to make a push for playoffs, and if something happens to Fields, I'd feel a lot better making that push with Wilson than whatever hot dog vendor we put under center.
well, here's the problem I see for Russell Wilson.
Because right now, all of the really good journeyman dudes all have jobs. They've all been snapped up by every other team who's got quarterbacks flying down the depth chart. They're all on IR, and all of those good journeymen are all snapped up right now.
Yeah, but here's the problem with the Fields trade. We don't know if Fields is healthy. I mean, I'm sorry, not Fields. I meant to say Russell Wilson.
You said Wilson.
Yeah, we're not even sure if Russell Wilson's healthy right now. I think Mike Tomlin, it's kind of like the whole Mason Rudolph Kane Pickett thing. Rudolph had a couple good weeks, and Tomlin's almost like, all right, he's our high hand. We got to play him for now. We'll figure out what happens. And Tomlin's saying the same thing right now. So if Wilson's not 100% healthy, who's going to want to trade for him? And I heard dumb rumors like the Dolphins with the injury concerns with Tua. Okay,
right.
They probably need a quarterback. But, okay, if they trade for Russell Wilson, the Steelers would want a receiver. But why would the Dolphins trade a receiver?
Tyreek.
They could 10. Well, it won't be Tyreek.
What I was seeing was we trade with Wilson to the Dolphins for a 4th round pick, and then we take that pick and trade it for Hopkins.
Well, here's what I'm thinking. Hopkins, and I think a 4th round pick would probably do it, because Hopkins is getting a little older. Tennessee's really not going anywhere this year. Well, count the middleman. Don't trade Wilson. Trade a 4th round pick for Hopkins. You know what I mean? Let's
just do it. Don't trade. Just do the 4th.
Right. I don't understand. Like, why do we have to have like 2 trades? Like, it was funny.
Well, I mean, there is one thing to be said for getting a trade from Miami to trade, is that this season that 4th round pick is going to be a lot higher than our 4th round pick.
Yeah, but
we're on the road towards that. That pick is going to be higher up in the draft than the Steelers' original 4th round pick.
Miami will want a quarterback, and why? Now, the only other argument you can make is the Steelers' 3rd string quarterback, Kyle Allen. Now, again, I wouldn't say Kyle Allen's the franchise quarterback, but he has backed up a lot of years as a number 2 guy. So if you trade a Wilson, you could say, well, could we get back something to help us now? And then you say, well, we hate losing a Russell Wilson, but if something happened with Fields, you have Kyle Allen. Now, Kyle Allen's not a playoff quarterback, but I just don't see what the market is for Wilson right now. Unless some teams like that win a 1st round pick. But
for me, I take Tomlin at his word, and I believe that he's not ready to play right now. I don't see the Steelers making that trade anytime soon anyway, but I think Lee legitimately can't play right now.
Yeah, but I hate to say it, it's hot take. NFL fans are dumb because, like, I saw some talk in Cleveland going, "Yeah, we could trade for Joe Flacco." Well, why would the Colts trade Joe Flacco? Like, you need a backup quarterback. I mean, it doesn't. And Anthony Richardson for the Colts, when he's good, he looks amazing, but he's been really rocky now. And if you trade Flacco and Anthony Richardson goes down, who plays quarterback for the Colts? You know, what I mean, it just
Hot dog vendor.
yeah, you have to have two quarterbacks. And just because it was like the Ayuk thing. Hey, it'd been great if the Steelers could trade for Ayuk. The 49ers are a Super Bowl contender. Why are you trading one of your best players if you're a Super Bowl contender?
Because he was refusing to play. That was the only reason.
Yeah.
Why would you trade a guy who doesn't play for you for an asset that will? I would make that trade.
But I heard a rumor saying, "Oh, why don't we trade Russell Wilson for Jalen Waddle, like the ever good receiver for the Dolphins?" Why would the Dolphins do that? Even if you thought Russell Wilson was amazing,
stop thinking about them for a second and think about us. If they're willing to do that, I'll trade him today. I would trade him today.
They're not.
I will drive him there myself.
Of course,
I will fly up there. I will rent a very nice car, probably a black SUV. I will help Russell Wilson move.
Right, but I mean, yeah, if they offer that, sure, do it in the split.
Yeah,
no one's going to do that. I mean, because the whole
people make stupid decisions all the time.
Yeah, but the Dolphins aren't that dumb.
The Steelers signed Mitch Trubisky. It happens.
It happens. The Dolphins traded Minka Fitzpatrick for about nothing.
Well, you got to remember at that time.
I do have to remember. Remember. He was great. They traded him for nothing.
Right.
In week 4 for no reason.
Well, part of the problem, remember, the Dolphins are an awful team that year. And the first game of the year was the Ravens. They got beat by 50 or something. And they had nobody else in the defense.
When that was the Broncos. They got beat by the Broncos. That was so bad. Was that it? Was it that year?
It was a season opener. I'm not sure who they lost to, but they got beat so bad. And Minka was their only defensive guy of any value. And they kept on moving around. And the Steelers move Minka around a lot now, but they have a good defense where moving around isn't as big of a deal. When you're moving a guy around like that and you got nobody else to play,
you're like, hey, you cover everybody and we'll stand here
right.
and wear uniforms.
On the topic of the Dolphins, I know he's a regular listener. Tua, please retire. I'm genuinely worried about you. Please, just for you and your family, just walk away. It's not worth it.
We don't have any ulterior reasons to be recommending this to you. We enjoy you as a competitor. You are an excellent quarterback. I am genuinely concerned for your health.
Yeah.
Do you think there's a fear of some of these players? I mean, I know Tua's already made some money, but do you think these guys are like, man, I don't want to walk away. I'm getting paid good money. If I walk away, what am I going to do? I don't know.
I think any athlete at that level is always going to think they can come back.
Yeah. I don't want to walk away from my job and I don't make good money. Like,
right. Yeah, I don't know what's going on.
Those 6 swimming pools aren't going to pay for themselves.
Well, it's interesting. No, granted, a bad NFL contract's much better than anything we'd ever make, I'm sure.
Sure.
But like Tua, for the first time, he really got paid like this year. Beforehand, he was making like a rookie deal or whatever else the case might be. Yeah, no, I mean, he needs to watch his health, and who knows. Speaking of injuries, Alex Highsmith got injured. I haven't seen a total. I heard someone speculate maybe 2 or 3 weeks, so it doesn't look like he's playing this week against the Colts. I'm intrigued. I like Alex Highsmith. The Steelers are better when Alex Highsmith plays. But if he doesn't play, Nick Herbig is going to play. Nick Herbig played part of the game against the Chargers. He had 2 sacks. Now, Highsmith is a better run defender than Nick Herbig is, but Nick Herbig's a freak as a pass rusher. I'm looking forward to see what happens when Herbig and Watt play together for a game. That's going to be intriguing.
Yep.
Definitely looking forward to that.
And it's so funny.
Because, yes, Highsmith's a better run defender because he's also playing more.
Right.
So, like, I want, their opportunity means something. So I'm not trying to denigrate what Highsmith does. He's fantastic. I love him. But I don't necessarily see that as a downside to Herbig because he hasn't had the chance to do that as a starter.
Well, I think Highsmith is a better overall linebacker just with – I don't think Herbig's necessarily a liability as a run guy. Pass guy, very good. I don't know if you remember, Paul, when we were at the Steelers camp at one day, we were watching a 7-on-7, and Herbig was just running laps around Chuks Okafor. Chuks was trying to block him, and he was pretty much waving at like Herbig sprinting by him every play. It was insane to see live. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm looking forward to see what happens. And the interesting thing is, as the number 3 guy, Herbig gave him more depth. If we don't have Highsmith, and it's expected to see 2 or 3 games for Highsmith. Who's the third guy? Well, DeMarvin Leal, who's been a disappointment, but he's looked much better this year. He's your third guy, so it'd be interesting to see how he fits in the mix too. I'm intrigued to see that. I'm looking forward to the Steelers-Colts game. I'm really looking forward to seeing how those 3 do together. It's going to be intriguing. So, very good. Any weird picks for Herbig? Do you think we're going to see 2-3 sacks or
in total, or
no, this week?
Yeah, I mean,
I do think that he benefits, as Highsmith does, from being on the opposite side of
TJ. Yeah,
TJ. That so much attention has to go to TJ that whoever's on the other side just has a world of opportunity to be very disruptive.
Highsmith does a lot more stuff than just sacks. But it's funny, Highsmith hasn't gotten that big sack. What do you call it? Bump. You know what I mean? Now, Highsmith has seen good play, and he's gotten a lot of great opportunity from being a partner of TJ Watt. Some of the other guys Watt's played with have been double digits. I don't think Highsmith has had double digits sacks before, but he's still a really good linebacker.
Mm-hmm.
Sacks are great, and obviously it's very beneficial, but if you're just making life miserable for the quarterback, ultimately that's what you're looking for, is just wreaking havoc. If you don't get the sacks, big deal. If you're wreaking havoc, that's ultimately what we need.
If you're rushing, if you're disrupting, if you can blow up a run or two, or at least seal that end so that the quarterback can't bail out in your direction. It's fantastic.
We will finish for a Steelers pick, but a couple quick things. One mentioned the AFC North. Man, I was surprised Monday night. I thought the Bengals were going to beat the Commanders. Bengals had a good offensive game, put up 33. Defense gave 38. I know Jaden Daniels is a good rookie. I kind of surprised that the Bengals defense is that bad this year. What's going on with them?
They look bad. I haven't watched a game to identify specific problems, but they're clearly
I'm in the same spot where I haven't really watched enough of their games to really see. I watched some clips today, and it didn't look horrendous, but they were definitely giving up yards that they did, giving up passes they didn't, runs, yards after catch, all kinds of stuff that you're not used to seeing from them. So
Burrow's looking better. They put up 33. This guy gets some defense. And the Browns, man, what a loss. I mean, we used to criticize Tomlin about the Tomlin special when you lose to a poor team. Man, for the Browns having a season, you got to beat the Giants. how could they lose to the Giants? It's so weird.
Well, I think they've got the ultimate whammy where Chubb is out, and then Watson is just a hot mess. So offensively, they've got nothing.
And their line, kind of interesting. The Steelers' line's been kind of up and down after Mike Munchak left. I know Munchak was a great offensive line coach for them. They lost Callahan. He went to coach with his son in Tennessee, and I know Tennessee's not looking that good either. But man, their offensive line's it's horrible, and their offensive line needs to be half decent. It's weird, kind of a weird thing. Myles Garrett's hurt too. He's playing, but he's not his former self. It's kind of rough. Ravens.
He'll still win Defensive Player of the Year over TJ.
Yeah.
I think the voting's already done.
Yeah.
I think they've already voted it. He's already won.
Ravens won their first game. They're 0-2. Kind of impressive that they went to Dallas and built a big lead, but they did their best to blow it. They almost blew their big lead. I think they were up like 20-3, and they ended up winning 20-25. It was really strange.
I think those are two teams who have every resource to be great, but are creating ways to plunder that and fumble it.
Yeah, Ravens are having a weird year. Justin Tucker's missed some field goals on him. He used to be like the star of the team, and he's just not looking good at all.
If the Bengals keep playing sloppy, if the Browns stay a hot mess, and the Ravens keep, I mean, if they want to hand the division over, I'm not gonna refuse.
Yeah, season's still early, but the way those other teams have been playing, Steelers could run away with it. No. All right, so let's pick.
But since they don't play anybody in the North until after their bye week, they could be they really could be in a position to have a commanding lead before they even play those games.
Well, and that's what I love about the schedule. Everyone was so mad, like, oh, their schedule's so hard when it began. But I told you guys this. I said it's going to be a work in progress for the first couple of weeks. Now, I was wrong. I thought they may have lost a game or two because of the work in progress. It's still work in progress, but they won 3 with it being a work in progress. I think either way, they're going to be a better team as the season goes on. And, yeah, they're going to play a really horrible schedule. Maybe they'll lose even if they're a good team. But I like the fact that, especially when you're 3-0 and you look like you could be a playoff team, I like the fact they're getting better as the year goes on. I think it's only going to help them near the end of the year.
I mean, I think there's a real shot of potentially going 5-0. I don't think that's out of the question.
Well, let's get to that. Let me get my pick for the Colts game. Colts are a weird team. They don't look that great. I wasn't impressed with how they played against the Bears. Anthony Richardson is kind of a stud in some ways. He's very fast. He's very strong. He can throw it a mile. He has consistency issues. He's not the most accurate guy. But the Colts, man, if you're not careful, I mean, they beat up on the Steelers last year. They got a good running back in Jonathan Taylor. I think the Steelers are playing better, though. I still think there's a little bit of work in progress. I don't think the Steelers blow them out. But I can see this being a 7-point win for the Steelers on Sunday. They win the game. They're not going to blow them out, but I think they're going to win and look pretty good. What do you guys think on who's going to win and by how much?
I envision almost a carbon copy of last Sunday. I think it's gonna be
okay.
Maybe that 2010 kind of something.
I was feeling something like a 21-13, something like that.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't see the Colts putting up a lot of points.
Yeah, I take that. I mean, the Colts could surprise you if you're not careful, but I think overall, the way both teams are playing, it was interesting. I like the Steelers' run defense. They really shut down the Chargers. The Colts can throw the ball, but against the Bears, they're having a hard time throwing it. The Bears don't really have a great pass defense. I did see at the end of the game when the Colts pulled away, they ran a lot more. And I think the Steelers have a good run defense right now. So I feel pretty good about that. So sounds good. Paul referenced this. When do you think they lose? I mean, after the Colts, assuming they could pull out a win, they're at home against Dallas. But Dallas is kind of messy. At the start of the year, I thought maybe that could be a loss, but you never know. Paul, when's your pick for the Steelers' first loss?
Who's after Dallas?
Raiders.
Just scheduled in front.
Vegas.
Is that at Vegas? I think
at Vegas.
Okay.
And the week
I don't
after
think
that
Vegas
is,
has. They
Yeah.
I mean, their offense kind of sucks, but they do have a really good defense. So that could be a 6-3 win.
that could be an ugly smash mouth game. Then after that, it's the Jets at Pittsburgh.
See that's. I don't think that's out of the question. I mean, I don't think the Jets are. I mean, they're going to be formidable, but I don't see them as like, oh no, here
And
come the
then
Jets.
the Giants come to Pittsburgh.
That
I
should be
think-
a win.
And
I
then
think
you
it's
would
the
think.
and then it's the Commanders.
And
I
that
think
should be a win.
I think it being the NFL, a loss
I
is
mean-
going to happen sometime. And if a loss happens, it doesn't mean the Steelers season is over. I would say I could see the Jets being that in a close loss. I don't think the Jets necessarily better than Pittsburgh, but a loss is going to
Yeah.
happen. Right? They're not going to
I think all those games are very winnable, but they'll lose one of them, at least one. I don't know which one, but probably the Jets. But none of them are like it's like there's no way we could possibly win. I think they're all winnable.
And it's after the Commanders is when the gauntlet begins. That's when we've got Baltimore, Cleveland, Cincinnati, Cleveland, Philadelphia, Baltimore again, Kansas City, Cincinnati.
But the intriguing thing is, the AFC North at the beginning of the year, we're like, oh, they're all going to be really good. The Bengals don't look as tough as they did a few weeks back, or the Browns.
Well, I don't see the Bengals staying that bad for that long. I think they start to right the ship, and by the time we are playing them in December, they're going to be a different team. And I don't know. I agree because Tomlin is Tomlin. There's going to be one of these games that we should probably win and don't.
It'll probably be the Giants. We'll pull a Browns and lose to the Giants.
Pull a Browns and lose to the Giants. And just be like, what? What even just happened? It's like we just weren't even there that week.
You know what? What game might be peskier than we think it is, and this would be kind of an upsetting loss. Commanders, man, they looked good against the Bengals. I know the Bengals don't have a great defense this year, but man, Jaden Daniels has been playing pretty good. Could he sneak up on the Steelers? I don't know. It would be a surprise. I might say
it would be
better, but
I mean,
it would be because the Bengals were playing bad, and the way that we play defense, we're going to be a problem.
Yeah, and for someone of his experience level to be the one that cracks this defense, that's going to be a hard sell to convince me of.
That's where I feel like the Jets, Aaron Rodgers can just do things.
Yeah.
He can. He's on the other side of the table. That guy's a problem.
He's seen a thing or two in his 85-year career.
Him and 10 hot dog vendors are out there just doing their thing, and he's going to get them the ball.
Yeah, and the Jets have good defense. So I mean, it'll be a close game. I'm not saying the Jets would kill them, but I could see the Jets being that. Hey, one other thing, we got to get ready for our Exciter show. We got a guest coming up on there. Why the heck? And I think it's just because it's New York, and we think everyone's going to watch New York. But our Monday night game this year is the Giants at Steelers. What's so compelling about that? NFL's got to get off the Giants. The Giants and the Jets get
here's the thing. Well, here's the thing for Monday Night Football. The Giants stink. Who's still going to watch them?
Yeah, that's true.
The entire New York market.
And sometimes on those games, that could be a closer game than we think. The Steelers should win that game, but I don't think it's going to be a blowout. It's the Steelers. We don't blow out teams as much as we should. So I don't know.
Well, even the dumpster fire Browns should have beaten them. I don't know that was.
I don't know. Dumpster fires get pretty hot.
Other annoying things. Steelers go to play the Browns on Thursday night. Sometimes those games have been rough. They better not lose that game. Or I will get mad. The week after
hate
that,
Thursday games.
I will be grumpy.
That's going to be the game where TJ Watt gets injured.
Oh yeah, it'll be a fight. Mason.
Well, there can be a fight, but I do want someone to repeat James Harrison's move of tackling the person who's trying to race onto the field.
And bring James Harrison.
Just have him there that day. Just have it be James Harrison Day and just let him be there. Someone's going to be an idiot, and James Harrison will murder him.
James Harrison still looks like he could play. And, man, if we get any more injuries on the outside linebacker, let's bring James Harrison back.
Well, and that was the thing, right? Because Herbig was working with Harrison.
Oh, yeah.
Harrison came in during the preseason at camp and was working with him.
He can still play fourth outside linebacker.
Easily. Yes.
Yeah. So now he's got a bench pressing cars now.
Yeah. He can still play like 10, 20 plays.
I ain't betting against him. I may not put him on my fantasy team, but I'm definitely not betting against him.
All right, we'll check out our Etc. show. We got Luke Macy. He's a freelance writer. He's been covering Springfield. We're trying to get to the truth of what's going on down there. Hopefully, Luke can help us out. And we got some fun stories. I'm looking forward. Got a couple follow-ups. Let me see. This has been a busy day. I was excited when I put these stories together, and now I can't remember any of them. Oh, I don't think Joe was here the first time we talked about this, Paul. The zoo, where there's accusations of pandas really being dogs, the zoo has admitted to it. So we will talk about the zoo.
You have to.
That is awesome.
We will and thanks for linking the stories, Joe. I appreciate that. Siren's Curse, the new Cedar Point roller coaster, and the python that squeezed a woman for 2 hours. We talked about the bears last week.
I did that one time.
Yeah, maybe the python could be the new, boyfriend bear. Who knows? We'll figure it out.
We gotta find out. Ask him, if Haitians are eating cats, do they not know about what's happening in Licking County and the feral cats?
Listen, that's real. That is a real question.
There
are feral cats. That is not. You're not even. It's not even somebody's property or whatever.
Make that part of the show a little bit more serious. Luke
listen, you do what you do. Yes. We'll do what we do.
We need to keep the first 10, 15 minutes more meet the press, and then we can go on to our Howard Stern for the rest.
Oh, man.
All right, well, we better get going. He could be there any minute now. So for
all right.
Paul and Joe, this is Chris. Have a good one. Bye-bye.